If you've always thought buses were just dull, lumbering people movers, get ready to change your mind. In the 1950s, America saw the birth of something truly extraordinary: the Flxible Vista-Liner VL-100, a machine so striking it was nicknamed a spaceship on wheels. Imagine sweeping panoramic glass, stainless steel curves gleaming in the sun, and plush, air-conditioned interiors that felt more like a rolling hotel than a bus. It was designed to redefine long-distance travel, offering passengers a level of luxury and style unheard of at the time. But why did this gleaming promise of the future vanish almost without a trace? How did such an advanced, beautiful design become so rare that surviving examples are now prized like museum pieces? And what hard lessons lie buried in its forgotten story? Stay with us as we uncover the shocking truth behind America's most beautiful bus, and explore why it was quietly erased from history. In the years after World War II, America wasn't just rebuilding, it was booming. Highways cut clear across the continent, linking big cities and small towns with freshly poured concrete and dreams of unlimited mobility. The open road became more than just infrastructure, it was freedom itself. For millions of Americans, the bus was their ticket to that freedom. Not everyone could afford a new car, and train service was shrinking. Long-distance buses became the backbone of cross-country travel, carrying soldiers home, families on vacation, and workers chasing opportunity. It was a golden era of travel, and at the top of the heap sat Greyhound. Greyhound wasn't just a bus line, it was an institution. Their stations stood like miniature airports in the heart of American cities, their schedules crisscrossing the nation like clockwork. And their ace in the hole, the GM Scenic Cruiser. With its signature raised deck and modern styling, it was a rolling billboard for comfort and progress. Riders got panoramic views, air conditioning, a true luxury in the 1950s, and the sense that they were part of something big, America on the move. But Greyhound's dominance left little room for rivals. Continental Trailways knew they couldn't beat Greyhound by copying them. They needed something distinctive, something to stand apart from the giant's shadow. They wanted their own icon, an exclusive, unmistakable flagship that screamed modernity and class. That was where Flxible came in. Smaller, scrappier, and hungry to prove themselves, they saw an opening to design a bus that didn't just compete, it would redefine what a luxury highway coach could be. And so, the stage was set for a showdown on America's highways. Because to challenge a titan, you don't just build a bus, you build a dream on wheels. Flxible wasn't some giant corporation with deep pockets. They were a smaller, scrappier company, known mainly for ambulances and transit buses, operating out of Ohio. But they saw an opening no one else did. Continental Trailways was desperate to set itself apart from Greyhound's shadow, and Flxible was ready to help them do it. They didn't just want to build another bus. They wanted to create something so distinctive that passengers would know instantly. This isn't Greyhound, this is Trailways. It wasn't enough to compete, they had to stand out completely. So they set to work on a design that would break every expectation. By 1956, they unveiled the Vista-Liner VL-100, and the press didn't hold back. They called it a spaceship on wheels, and for good reason. Its styling was bold, almost futuristic, with sweeping curves, polished stainless steel, and a stance that seemed to promise speed and elegance all at once. But it wasn't just about looks. The interior was crafted to deliver a premium travel experience. Flxible knew they were targeting long-haul passengers who might be on board for hundreds of miles, so they designed plush, padded seating, reading lights, and even full air conditioning, at a time when many buses were sweltering in summer heat. It was ambitious, maybe even too ambitious. But that was the point. Flxible wasn't trying to be safe. They were trying to change the game. For Trailways, this was their statement piece, their promise to customers that they could deliver modernity, comfort, and a truly memorable ride. The Vista-Liner wasn't just a new bus. It was a declaration of independence from Greyhound's dominance. It was Trailways saying, "We're not just in this fight, we're here to win." What really set the Vista-Liner VL-100 apart wasn't just that it looked different. It felt different the moment you stepped on board. Flxible's engineers knew they had to deliver more than a pretty shell. They wanted passengers to feel like they were entering the future of travel. The first thing that grabbed your attention was the deck-and-a-half design. Unlike a standard single-level coach, the Vista-Liner's passenger floor was raised through the middle section, creating a subtle mezzanine effect. It wasn't a full double-decker, but it offered a spacious, airy feeling that made every ride feel like an upgrade. Riders sat higher, with a commanding view of the road, turning even the longest hauls into scenic adventures. And those panoramic curved windows. They were revolutionary. Glass stretched from floor to ceiling, wrapping the sides of the bus in nearly 360 degrees of visibility. Skylights above added even more natural light, so passengers weren't just traveling. They were immersed in the American landscape. From deserts to mountains to endless highways, the Vista-Liner let you see it all like never before. Inside, no detail was overlooked. Thickly padded seats with headrests invited you to settle in for the long haul. Individual reading lights gave each passenger control over their own comfort. And then there was air conditioning. Still a rarity in buses back then, turning summer trips from a sweaty ordeal into a genuinely pleasant ride. The outside was just as striking. The body used stainless steel and aluminum, with sleek lines and locomotive-inspired taillights that projected modernity and power. This wasn't just transportation. It was a rolling statement that Trailways and Flxible weren't afraid to think big, dream bold, and promise travelers an experience as grand as the country itself. But as impressive as the Vista-Liner VL-100 looked, the dream began to crack once it hit the road. Beneath all that gleaming stainless steel and sweeping glass was a machine that demanded more from its operators than most were prepared to give. For starters, while the bus offered reliable four-stroke diesel engines from Hercules or Cummins, they simply didn't have the low-end torque of GM's Detroit Diesel 8x71. On flat highways, they cruised fine, but on steep grades or mountain passes, drivers felt the strain. It wasn't the powerhouse that the Scenic Cruiser was, and that mattered when you were hauling a full load of passengers across the Rockies or Appalachians. Then there was the transmission. Flxible used a Fuller Road Ranger non-synchronized 5-speed manual. It was sturdy, but it wasn't forgiving. Drivers had to double clutch every shift, a skill not everyone had or wanted to learn. Some units eventually got 6 speeds or even Allison automatics, but by then the reputation was set. This was a bus for skilled hands only. Other problems were less dramatic, but equally frustrating. The air conditioning, that once prized selling point, proved temperamental, sometimes failing just when it was needed most. Electrical issues cropped up in unexpected places. Worst of all, there simply wasn't a robust maintenance network to handle these quirks. Greyhound had GM in its corner, with nationwide support, easy access to parts and mechanics trained on their buses. Flxible had no such luxury. Parts for the Vista-Liner could be hard to find. Local shops didn't know how to service its semi-monocoque body or specialized systems. In the end, no matter how futuristic it looked, keeping a Vista-Liner running smoothly took time, money, and expertise that most operators simply didn't have. And slowly but surely, that beautiful dream on wheels started to look more like a headache waiting to happen. For all its bold design and ambitious promises, the Vista-Liner VL-100 was ultimately fighting a battle it couldn't win. Even at its peak, production numbers were modest. Only around 250 to 275 units ever rolled off the line between 1956 and 1963. It wasn't a fleet meant to conquer the nation, but rather to serve as Trailways' shining statement. Yet even that hope fell apart faster than anyone wanted to admit. Trailways operators quickly discovered the cost of keeping these beautiful machines on the road was more than their budgets could bear. The specialized maintenance, the tricky transmissions, the fussy air conditioning, they all added up. For small depots already strapped for cash, keeping a Vista-Liner in service became an impossible promise. Slowly, the Great Trailways experiment began to unravel. Some Vista-Liners were shifted to less demanding routes, limping along for a few more years before being quietly retired. Others were sold off at bargain prices to independent carriers, only to be stripped for spare parts or abandoned in backlots. A few were cannibalized to keep other buses running, their sleek stainless steel shells left to rust behind depots or in weedy fields. There was no grand farewell, no museum-worthy send-off. One by one, they just disappeared from the highways they were meant to revolutionize. Passengers stopped noticing, companies stopped advertising, and the spaceship on wheels became a ghost of a promise America forgot it even made. What remains is the memory of a bus that dared to dream bigger than the industry would allow. A bold, gleaming symbol of ambition, outpacing practicality, and a cautionary tale about how even the most beautiful ideas can fade into silence if the world isn't ready to keep them alive. But the story of the Vista-Liner VL-100 didn't end completely on those abandoned lots. Even if the industry moved on without fanfare, these buses never truly vanished from memory. Today, fewer than 20 are known to survive, scattered across America like relics of an unfinished dream. Most sit quietly in fields, behind old depots, or tucked away in dusty barns, their stainless steel bodies dulled by decades of weather. They're often missing windows, engines seized, interiors stripped bare. But for those who love them, these aren't junked relics, they're mechanical art, frozen moments of mid-century ambition. Each one tells a story of what America dared to imagine, a future where even a bus ride felt like stepping into tomorrow. Collectors and restoration enthusiasts see something worth saving in every battered frame. They'll spend countless hours hunting for original parts, poring over faded blueprints, or fabricating new panels by hand to match the old curves. For them, bringing a Vista-Liner back to life isn't just a hobby. It's an act of preservation, a way to honor an idea that was too bold for its time. And thanks to social media, these stories are being shared in ways the original designers could never have imagined. Facebook groups, vintage bus forums, and YouTube channels are full of people trading tips, sharing photos, and swapping tales about their restoration journeys. Because while the Vista-Liner may have failed as a business plan, it succeeded in leaving behind something timeless. It's become a symbol not just of what went wrong, but of what it means to dream fearlessly, even when the world isn't quite ready to follow. It reminds us that beauty doesn't die just because it's no longer profitable. Sometimes, that's when it matters most. The Vista-Liner VL-100 never became the bus that transformed American travel the way its creators once dreamed. But maybe that's exactly what makes its story so compelling. It stands as a reminder that sometimes the world isn't ready for bold ideas, that being too far ahead can mean being left behind. Yet those dreams don't lose their value just because they didn't catch on. In fact, they become even more precious. What do you think about the Vista-Liner's story? Which part of its daring design or ambitious vision stands out to you most? Or do you remember other vehicles that were forgotten too soon? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoy exploring these hidden chapters of automotive history, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you won't miss the next journey. There's still a long road ahead, full of remarkable machines and untold stories waiting to be discovered together.